Being a huge fan of the Souls series since Dark Souls 2, I try to make a point to try out any new Souls-like games when they drop. Demon Souls was always that game I wanted to try, but that was before my love for this genre. Now being on PS5 and fully redone for today's audiences, I knew this was my chance. Currently, I'm about halfway through the areas at about 10 hours. Now I'm going into this impressions, I'm being fairly seasoned in a Souls-like games. I felt like I was prepared for the journey ahead, and there are some areas that it showed. Following a similar path to other Souls franchise, the story is fairly light. We need to go through and vanquish the demons to lift the fog over the area and hopefully save this whole kingdom. The details in the story, along with most From Software titles, are in the world itself. Item descriptions give you the details of where they were used and when they were used. NPC dialogue changes after helping or hurting them, along with adding additional lines as the stories continue. Honestly, looking for each of these characters and the missing items becomes a top priority to me. When it comes to your gameplay, similar to other Souls-likes, you make your way through a bleak world, defending yourself, killing enemies, collecting their souls, and cashing them in to get stronger. Oh, and you will die from time to time. Mostly a lot. You get some options when it comes to your loadout. Rather, you want to be a bruiser that uses big hulking weapons, quicker with lighter attacks, and use lighter swords, short swords, or even a mage with spells. Heck, you can go fist fighting if you wanted to. For the most part, you can alter your skills to better fit your play style as the stories keep progressing, so you're not locked to a specific weapon set, though your stats will kind of weigh which way you should go. Combat at 60 frames a second is great to not only see, but to react in. Fights feel a little more fluid and overall flow so much better than past games. Bluepoint did this spot on. Also, having to balance all your items you carry is positive in my eyes, since you can always go to the next after fights, try and drop off things you no longer need. I like to keep things organized. It allows me to look at my items prior to dropping souls into stats and plan ahead. Also, on a side note, if your equipment weighs too high, your rolls suck. Keep an eye on that. One super hard thing that you'll experience after your first death is your health bar being cut in half, and there's only a handful of options to return to human form. Killing bosses, help kill bosses, or invade and kill the host. There's also an item that restores your humanity, but they're fairly limited from what I can see. This does make the game much more difficult, so the more you stay away from death, the better. Also, healing is done differently. You get grass and different levels of grass. No Estus Flask here, kids. I actually love this because it lets me go out and farm for grass, stock up, and just really go into a boss fight ready to go. Exploration is a little strange. I wasn't expecting this hop around compared to past titles. While there's no correct way to go through the worlds, there is a recommended depending on your skill and the level to travel. I would recommend looking this up for new or not quite as seasoned players. It does truly help. Also, the world tendency is an interesting idea, where the more times you die in an area, the harder it gets for you. Also, this does alter the world as well. Certain NPCs or certain areas open up under specific tendencies. Speaking of NPCs, they all look amazing, have some great voice synced lines. The facial structures all look really good, and Bluepoint did a phenomenal job on this as well.
Well, you slipped through the fissure too, did you? You came for demon souls? Or to save this land and be remembered as a hero? Hunting for demons? Try one of the Archstones.
Now, since I am a little bit seasoned in the Souls-like games, I would say the difficulty in this seems to be a little bit easier than I expected. In my opinion, Dark Souls 2, 3, and even Sekiro all seemed harder than Demon Souls. Not sure why. I ended up not dying until 2 bosses in, and that was because I got boxed in by some fireworms in an area that was way over my level. But since then, I feel like the amount of times I've died are a raindrop compared to those in other titles. But one thing on tops of everything else is the loading times. Most trips to and from areas take 5 seconds. Same goes with deaths. It all just loads so quick, I can't even stop and get a drink now. In prior titles or on past systems, it would take you sometimes upward to a minute plus after a death or traveling between areas. So I loved seeing this improvement Bluepoint did with the PlayStation 5. One side note, and this kind of really upsets me, is the game requires PlayStation Plus to invade, join a group, or even get notes left behind by other players. Sadly, since in my case space, it doesn't warrant me to spend $60. Where I'm at, my internet connectivity is not good enough for me to warrant paying $60 a year for this service. Dark Souls 2, 3, and even Bloodborne didn't require Plus to access these things. Why is this way? Oh, that's right. Money. Now, I'll say in the graphics department, the game is super pretty between the 60 frames a second, the particle effects used, details in the walls to rocks, to enemies and bosses. Everything here is just jaw-dropping beautiful. Lightning effects are on point along with fire. It's the most beautiful Souls-like yet. Though the other Dark Souls games done by From Software were never really over-the-top pretty. Enemy designs are on point and slight details in them make the world just feel so amazing. Looking at a weapon, armor details in the menu are so great. Being able to rotate them around and see the digital craft is just icing on the cake. I don't know if I've ever said this about a Souls game, but it is crazy to say this. The voice acting is superb. The lines are well delivered and have some solid emotion behind them. They're not going to be winning any Emmys, but this is not only so good to see the facial structures speaking, but it's also great to hear it. Sound effects in the game were also just as amazing. Explosions are ear candy, swords hitting walls. While it sucks, don't get me wrong, they sound great. The soundtrack is on point and gives amazing vibes during boss fights. Footsteps in water sound realistic, and walking down narrow halls echo. The immersion is on point, and casting spells just feels so godlike. Wrapping things up, honestly, Bluepoint did a bang-up job on this title. They took a concept from a game in 2009 and pulled it to 2020 like a gem. The graphics and gameplay are beyond what I expected. Now, I will say, as much as I love and praise the game, I'm a little bit salty over the $70 price point here in the US. Maybe the game should have launched at $60 and then do a deluxe edition at $70. A digital version at $90 feels like a cash grab as well. This hurts my heart a little. I just hope creators are seeing this and they're not left out to dry by a few people at the top. While I wouldn't necessarily say this is a system selling game, I can easily say if you already own a PlayStation 5, you need to play this game. It is worth getting into this franchise and immersing yourself into Demon's Souls. So that wraps up my first impressions for Demon's Souls on the PlayStation 5. If you'd like to see some gameplay footage, click the link to your left. That'll take you to a running playlist of some commentary content. And if you like what you see and you want to see some more, click the link to your right. That'll take you to the channel itself where I have tons of videos going on over there. Until next time, you guys, stay frosty.